Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Generation Gap. I'm one of your hosts, Gretchen Fabiani. I'm joined as always by Tom.
And I'm Tom Galise, joined as always by Gretchen.
And today we're talking about Sidney Lumet's 1957 courtroom drama, 12 Angry Men. 12 Angry Men, adapted by screenwriter Reginald Rose from the 1954 teleplay, stars Henry Fonda along with 11 other
Angry men.
ranging from kind of famous to very famous actors who we'll probably list as we go.
Yeah. And some became famous. Some weren't as well known yet, you know.
There are some standouts. For those of you who grew up watching Winnie the Pooh, you guys are going to notice the voice of Piglet pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure.
I did.
Yeah.
So, Tom, what was your first experience with 12 Angry Men?
Well, I saw it a long time ago. Not sure how old I was when I first saw it, but I enjoyed it. And it's funny because now that I'm older, I don't know why I didn't enjoy it as much. I felt a little more like I was not being manipulated so much, but sort of being hit on the head with certain elements of it. And I still enjoyed it. It's still riveting, I think, you know. It's short. It's tight.
It is short.
You know, like you said, it was a teleplay. And it's all really just one set, you know, which is great, except for kind of a frivolous scene at the end, which was completely unnecessary.
Agreed.
Really, everything else pretty much takes place right in that courtroom. Well, we'll get into it more as we discuss it, but I still liked it. Not as much as I once did.
Okay.
Probably part of the generation gap, too, because I'm older. I see things a little differently now.
That could be.
Yeah. I was much more open-minded, I think, back then, more idealistic.
Okay.
You know, I had an idea what I thought would have made a better ending, even maybe like where. Well, we'll get into that.
We'll get into that.
Yeah. But it would be interesting too if it was redone. But I feel like if it was redone, it probably wouldn't change much, honestly.
So I first saw this. I've alluded before to the string of movies that made me fall in love with cinema. We talked about it actually in the first episode. Casablanca was the start of that run.
Right.
When I was like 12 or 13, I tried to get into classic movies, and I kind of bummed out with Citizen Kane and The Godfather, and I was kind of feeling like maybe this wasn't for me. And then I discovered Casablanca, 12 Angry Men, and On the Waterfront all in a row. 12 Angry Men is one of the movies that makes me love movies.
Yeah.
I fell in love with it then. I've watched it 2 or 3 times since. I fell in love with it again watching it last time. I bought it on DVD, like special collector's set for the family.
Wow.
Dad and I are going to watch it hopefully sometime next week. I love this story.
I want to hear what you say when you're 63. So I gotta just make sure I hang around that long. That's a long time from now.
That's a long time.
I am curious, like what you'll think then. Only because I felt the same way. Like I said, much more idealistic. And we'll get into it again, like I said. But there's nothing really so overt about the casting, even necessarily. John Savoca, never heard of him, right? Because whoever's listening's never heard of him because it was the only film he's ever done. There's really not much known about him. But he seems to be Italian, which
not really discussed.
It's not really discussed. His race is never mentioned, although most people think it is sort of a.
I think it's Italian.
Yeah.
Is the vibe I get.
Yeah, and again, they were also discriminated against.
But it doesn't matter.
Pretty strongly, right. So technically, today we consider them white people, but they weren't always necessarily considered white people. So the jury, of course, is all white men.
It is 1957.
Right, which is what the juries were at the time, right? All male, all white males.
And that's what the movies were all the time, too.
Right.
So. Let's get into it a little bit.
Yeah.
So 12 Angry Men is, in short, it's a story of a rogue juror. It's the jury assigned to a case of an 18-year-old boy allegedly stabbing his father to death after a heated dispute in their home in the slums of, is it New York?
It is New York. Yeah,
New
it's
York
never
City?
stated, but it's hinted because they're New York Yankees fans.
And the train system too.
Train system,
is
right.
alluded to.
Right.
As the 12 men all gather into the room to go ahead and cast their votes, it comes back as 11 votes guilty and 1 vote not guilty. The vote not guilty comes from juror number 8. That would be Henry Fonda in one of his most famous movies, who basically calls the jury to come together and just discuss the case for longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because he believes that someone's life is worth considering reasonable doubt.
Yeah, he specifically says that because the guy says, why do we need to discuss it? It's obvious he did it." And he says, "Because we're going to send an 18-year-old kid to the electric chair. I think it's worth 5 minutes of talking about it. We should discuss it."
Yes.
And he's right.
So this movie is really interesting because it's a master class in tension building, and this could be also like an opinion thing. I feel like the movie's tension is really, really good. I feel like it builds as you go. I don't know if you noticed too, but Lumet starts using like tighter and tighter shots.
Oh, I did notice that. Yeah, which is interesting. And you start to feel a little claustrophobic in there
really,
because
really
it's
good.
yeah. Because it is all just in that courtroom, and it seems to get smaller as the film goes on.
As you're hanging out with these 12 guys who are not really named, by the way, they're not named by the teleplay, and they're only named. 2 of them are only named in that one scene at the end that you could cut and lose nothing.
Right. It means nothing at all. But they're not even mentioned. I mean, they're listed as jurors 1
through 8.
Yeah. Right.
Yep, that's how they appear in the cast.
1 through 11 or whatever.
Yeah, 1 through 12.
Right through 12, but it doesn't matter.
No. And you really start to get to know these guys, and they come from different walks of life, different ages, different outlooks, and it's a study in prejudice. It's a study in what we take to the table without realizing we've brought it there. It's a study in how seriously we value our justice system and human life. It's a specifically American film. I think. I don't think you can make this in other countries.
No, and they have one of the jurors, in fact, is
Czechoslovakian,
and he's a recent immigrant. I think they make a point that he is a citizen also, but he also is praising our democratic system. Where you can have this, this jury with 12 men, jury of your peers, deciding your fate.
The thing I think
and he takes it very seriously, as we all should. But as Americans, we get a little lax in that.
That's one of the big points of the movie.
It is, yeah. In fact, they show 2 of the characters are just playing a word game or something in the paper, not even really paying attention at all.
That's juror number 8's big beef. That's his call throughout the entire film. I think it's interesting that you don't see the evidence given like for the case. You're at no point are you there for the case. Yeah, you just hear them talking about it, them recalling it. And as they're recalling it, there's a lot of questions about human memory, human error, opinion, prejudice. Like, what do you bring? What do we project? What do we try to? What painting do we depict when we are making our case?
It's true. What do we bring to the table? Yeah.
There's a lot of
baggage that people bring.
Yes.
Which is really
a huge part of
made manifest at the end, especially when, well, I don't want to get too far ahead, but basically the one juror rips up the picture of his son.
Yeah.
Because he's estranged from his own son, and you can see he's projecting his anger at his son onto this 18-year-old suspect.
With it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot too. I think what's the most interesting thing about this film, and the thing I think is different, when I see the rogue juror trope done in other films, because this has been done 100,000 times. We've seen this trope done afterward.
It's been done even on cartoons like Hey Arnold.
Yeah, I've seen jokes like
really well done too.
Yeah,
but you look as soon as if you know the film right away, you're like, they're doing 12 Angry Men.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's the story. It's an hourglass plot where you watch slowly them trickle from just one believing to everybody eventually kind of switches sides. But the story is not necessarily about the suspect's guilt. He's not even named.
Right. No.
The story
and his guilt or innocence is never established.
No.
No.
Which is interesting. And like I was gonna say, in most variations of the story, when they do have this, usually at the end of the day, they're either proven right or they're proven wrong. Very infrequently do I see it done where we don't know.
No. Right.
But usually when we leave a case, we don't.
What's interesting, what I had a problem with, though, is that they do all agree, spoilers again, we say this every week, spoilers for films that are 50 years old or more, But it's, they are going to say that he's not guilty or innocent, which I there's a question of that, too. Not guilty and innocent are 2 different things. However, it doesn't matter as far as the court's concerned. He's going to walk out. And that is kind of where I have a problem with the film, because whether they agree that he's innocent or that the evidence was there, it's still going to be the same result. He's going to walk. Now, the other choice was if they didn't agree, he would be put to death. So that's where the question is, did he deserve to be put to death? And they didn't have that much evidence. They do point out at some point that he was, no one questions it, even Juror 8, the standout, Henry Fonda. They do say he's stole a car. He's been arrested for mugging, threw a rock at his teacher. He's been picked up twice for knife fighting. and he hated his abusive father. So realistically, you could see why they would say, yeah, the kid's obviously guilty.
Mm-hmm.
But that's never established either. But I thought would have been interesting is if they went on maybe a half hour longer, because it's about an hour and a half long.
Yeah, it's pretty tight.
Yeah, another half hour where they find out that the kid does get out and does kill someone. You know, that would have been a real moral dilemma.
I think too,
this was not that film, though.
No. And I do think, too, like, this is where it's going to be really important, not only for generation gap purposes, but also just in the case of, like, time has marched on. In 1957, it was more important to tell a story that our prejudice colors how we view people, whether they're guilty or not. Nowadays, we hear that a lot more often, so I think we're a little bit more jaded to the very simplistic, in a way, like, ambiguity that the story is trying to go with. Right. Back then, like, they don't assign anybody ethnicities or cultural backgrounds. They really don't. They don't assign names.
No, it seemed more about class.
Yes.
They do mention that because when they do say they and others, you know, him in particular, the suspect, it is really more about class.
I think the film is fascinating because it's applicable now, but it's applicable in a different way. Like a lot of it's very similar, but the labels that we use have changed a little, and we prefer in our media a little bit more nuance, a little bit more subversion, whereas in the 50s we hadn't seen this done to death yet.
No.
And we hadn't seen these concepts talked about to death yet.
Right.
Like now we're in an era where we look back at this and say, oh, that's cute that they were talking about it then. But in 1957, this was a big deal. Like talking about this on this big of a scale, even though the film didn't do very well initially, it was something of a groundbreaker.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because Henry Fonda, one of his other favorite films of his own, his personal favorites, was the Oxbow incident. Mm-hmm. And that's very similar, too, you know, where somebody goes to buy horses from a guy and he's been murdered, and they just string up these three guys. And Henry Fonda, again, is the one holdout saying, like, well, wait, we don't know if these guys really did this or not, you know. And so he kind of, he loves this theme. Yeah. You know, and he usually likes to cast himself as the... You know, you knew right from the beginning that Henry Fonda was going to be right. As soon as he was the lone holdout.
I think when he played Abraham Lincoln, that was a pretty
that had a real effect on him. So you know he's kind of like the guy in the white hat in the whole film. So there was a lot of tension, like you mentioned. But again, for me now, older and having seen it done, even in, like I said, Hey Arnold, it's kind of a foregone conclusion. Like, you know, Henry Fonda's not going to be shown to be wrong at the end. Mm-hmm. There's not going to be some last minute bit of evidence that shows that this kid definitely did kill his father. So as far as the tension, for me, it was a little lacking in that sense. But in 1957, I'm sure it was a little bit more impactful. Yeah, because it hadn't been done. Except for the Oxbow incident, where if you saw that, and you haven't, but I highly recommend that also.
Now, the list of movies I've seen is weird. I've seen some like really obscure stuff that no one's heard of, and then I missed some big ones. Yeah. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
But let's go around the table real quick. So our cast, we got juror number 1 is the foreman. That's Martin Balsam, who a lot of you will remember from Psycho. Yeah. He's the private investigator in Psycho.
He's very good. It's kind of a subdued performance, too. He kind of starts to just almost fade away a little bit. Yeah, he's in the beginning. He's kind of like controlling the room, and then you can see he kind of loses a little control there.
Yeah, I do like him, but like in a very much like he's there.
A side character.
Yeah, he's there.
Yeah, that's why he was never really a lead.
That's John Fielder. That's the voice of Piglet for those of you who grew up with Winnie the Pooh as juror number 2. Right. And he kind of plays like human Piglet.
Yeah, he really little bit. Yeah, he really fit that. He fit the character of Piglet. And those who are closer to my age might remember him as Vinny from the TV series The Odd Couple, Oscar and Felix's poker playing buddy.
And those of you somewhere in between may remember him from the episode Wolf in the Fold from Star Trek: The Original Series.
There you go too. Yeah.
So that's
very distinct.
Yeah,
small.
He's definitely got a voice.
Definitely a unique voice. Yeah.
He actually was the one that brings up how the stab wound that kills the victim is angled downwards.
Yeah.
So he pays attention. Pretty shrewd little guy.
Yeah.
Juror number 3 is Lee J. Cobb, who I remember most from On the Waterfront.
Right.
And his character, a couple interesting things about juror number 3. He actually has more in common with the victim's father, maybe, than at first it's really considered.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things when you're on a jury and they even discuss, like, they're asked if you have any prior, like, they ask if you really have any prior prejudice, like, coming onto this. And as the story unfolds, it becomes very clear that when he's really talking about this kid, he's talking about his own son.
Yeah.
And how his own tempestuous relationship with him has driven his son away
Yeah.
to the point where he doesn't have a relationship with him anymore.
And you feel sorry for his son, but again, this was sort of 1950s and earlier when his son was born. Apparently, this is how they were. Like his son ran away from a fight. He mentions that in the story. Him. Yeah, and then he said that I decided right then I'm gonna make a man out of him whether he likes it or not. Which is kind of how fathers were in those days. And then he mentioned that his son left him, ran away or whatever. So he hasn't seen his son, so he's projecting his anger onto this.
It is a good performance in a way by him. I think not necessarily like his blustering, but there is a scene at the end, like when he does finally explode, and it does come out that he's angry at his son,
and he breaks down.
Not this child.
Yeah.
It's this look on his face as he's realizing what he's saying. It's like the moment of realization of what's come out of his mouth and what it means.
It really is one of the best performances in the film.
Good.
Henry Fonda is very,
He's Henry Fonda.
He doesn't really have any emotional scenes. He's very just kind of laconic. He just delivers the lines very straight.
I like him fine, but he's not my favorite
great,
performance.
right? He's Henry Fonda, and Henry Fonda's always interesting, but it's not really stretching him at all. It's Henry Fonda being Henry Fonda. And Lee J. Cobb plays this character very well also, but he has the most emotion, I think, in the film.
He definitely has the biggest turn because whereas like juror number, so at the end of the film, spoilers again for a movie that came out in the 50s, it comes down to juror number 3 and juror number 10, who are the holdouts for the not guilty vote.
Right.
And whereas juror number 10 is very like, and we'll get to his turnover eventually, his flip is almost begrudging. Like he doesn't, it's because he's run out of bluster and he realizes it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he feels like they're against him now.
Yes.
Kind of almost like, well, I got no choice now.
Juror number 3 feels like a realization of what have I done?
Right.
And it does feel like a more remorseful, not guilty.
Yeah. Well, juror number 10, Ed Begley, he never shows really any emotion about it.
No, he doesn't apologize. No.
But of course, Lee J. Cobb breaks down. And Lee J. Sob, you would say.
That was terrible.
That was really terrible.
That was very unscripted and very awful.
I was going to say Lee J. Cobb Sob, so I thought I'll just say Lee J. Sob.
I'd like to apologize to our listeners.
You gotta expect once in a while something like that. But his performance, again, I think it was probably the best in the film. I'm trying to think who else was really close. I mean, the bad guys kind of have the best, the most.
They definitely have
most
chops.
Moments. They have those moments where they're kind of chewing the scene a little bit, but they're good.
We're gonna get into my favorite performances in a couple of minutes.
Okay, yeah. But I thought they both were very good in those roles.
Juror number 4 is E.G. Marshall, who I wouldn't know if I fell over him.
Yeah. He's also very good, steady actor, very
prolific
good
actor. Yeah, he was in a lot of things, just nothing like really, really big.
Yeah.
Although you mentioned he was in Creepshow, and he was in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Right.
Juror number 4 is he's very stoic. He's very smart, like very coldly intelligent, calculating, and
is he 4? Who's 4?
4 is the stockbroker, the neutral one, the one with the glasses.
Is that E.G. Marshall?
Yes.
Oh, okay, right. It's funny because I don't know them by their numbers.
I only have
it is really all they go by.
I have notes. That's the only reason.
Yeah, and they don't even really go by that. In fact, we know that. But
so he's the one. He's another one of the last holdouts, and I think he's probably the most compelling of the holdouts.
He was, and he definitely seemed thoughtful about it.
Yes,
like he had his reasons, and even at the end, before he's sort of changed, he says, "Well, there are 2 big reasons," and he gives his reasons, and at the time, they do make sense, right?
Yeah. They even still do, like in hindsight. Like Henry Fonda and the rest break them down pretty well. But again, the point of the film is not necessarily like this guy didn't do it and here's why. This isn't a murder mystery. Right. It's not an episode of Murder, She Wrote.
Right.
This is,
and there is no, we
don't get a payoff.
Smoking gun either. Like whether one way or the other. Like there's nothing at the end that says like, oh my gosh, he really couldn't have done it. Or that he definitely did do it.
Yeah, it's definitely not Perry Mason. This is something else.
It's not that. So if you're going to see that, don't see this.
Yeah, go watch Anatomy of a Murder instead.
Yeah. Or Perry Mason.
Yeah.
But his conversion is like they make it very obvious that the other 2 holdouts, Lee J. Cobb and Ed Begley, are both just sort of prejudicial. They're angry. They and the third holdout for a while, which is also interesting and a good performance, Jack Warden. He's probably the most despicable, even though he's not portrayed that way.
I can't stand
because he just wants to go watch he's got tickets to go see the Yankees play, the Cleveland Indians, and he's just like, whatever you guys want, whatever it's going to take,
as fast as I can get out of
as
here.
I can get out of here. Yep.
Yep.
Which is a great scene because then the Czechoslovakian really kind of tears into him after that, and he says like, you're just abusing. This is a great system in America, and you're like, you don't even care. This kid's going to go to the electric chair if he's found guilty. Don't say you think he's not guilty just because we're saying he's not guilty. You just want to get out of here. Like, vote with your heart. What do you really feel?
And that's one thing I will give, like, juror number 4 and a couple of the other ones, they do go based off of evidence. They're very,
right.
They are trying to, there's some of them, he is one of them, he's taking this seriously.
Yeah, that's
right
what they're called to do, yeah.
Juror number 5 is Jack Klugman, and my personal favorite.
Yeah, he's great. And people my age, again, would know him from, of course, The Odd Couple, and also Quincy.
Yeah, I knew him mostly from Quincy and The Odd Couple. When I saw this, when I rewatched it, I was like, oh my gosh, that can't be who I think that is.
I know, and he's very young in this.
Very young.
Yep.
And
good acting. His acting is great.
I think he's fantastic in this.
Yep.
The most characterization we get on juror number 5 is he has a similar background as the suspect.
Right.
So he takes a couple of comments a little bit personally.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
Right.
And he also is the one who, one of my favorite sequences in the film is he's the one who points out that if the kid was an experienced knife fighter, the stab wound does not make sense.
Right. He wouldn't have held the knife the way they're showing it. Because the guy, when they do demonstrate it, just to tell you, he shows that the kid could have been handing, swinging or wielding the knife downward in a downward movement. But Jack Klugman's character points out that that's not how you ever use a switchblade. Mm-hmm. It would be unstable, and you usually hold it straight or up. You swing it up. So that definitely changed a few minds too. And it's because he's from the streets. They mentioned that he grew up in the slums also.
I do really it's an interesting performance. He does get a little bit of like a Quincy dissection of that in that sequence.
And it's funny because he kind of comes alive a little bit later in the film, because initially when they're going around, everyone say what they want to say. He just says,
doesn't say much.
Yeah, do I have to say anything? And they're like, no, you don't have to. So I was almost like, wow, it's Jack Klugman. He's not even going to say anything.
I think it's too. It is implied that he's the youngest in the group, and like watching him gain his courage as he has other people backing him is really
right. Because initially he would have been, other than Henry Fonda, he would have been the second holdout.
He is the. I do think he's like one of the standouts in partially because of like his retrospective fame as but I remember even when I saw this earlier, I remembered him. Yeah. Because he does have a couple really good moments. And,
he does. Yeah.
More like again the subtle characterizations you get out of people who you don't even know their names. Yeah. I think is really interesting.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
Juror number 6 is Edward Binns. Do you have anything on him? Not
really. No.
He exists.
Yeah, he exists. He's good.
He's fine.
Yeah, he's been in a few different things. He's got some good lines in the film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's the one that asks, what if you do convince us all and then we learn the boy really did kill his dad?
Right. Which is what I was thinking, and which I think would make a better film maybe. No one's done that. I mean, this film is, like you said, from 1957. Why not do it again, but have a, sort of a twist ending?
It has been adapted a couple of times since then, most notably the 97 version, which has George Scott as juror number 3.
And Jack Lemmon.
Oh, yes, and Jack Lemmon.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, when they adapt this story, they pretty much adapt it the way it's written. They really don't change a lot.
No twists, really, no.
I think now we're in an era full, like, courtroom dramas have been more of like they're still a fine, healthy film genre. Yeah. I'm pretty sure versions that exist out there that are a similar structure that do give you that twist ending you're looking for.
Yeah. I would appreciate that. Anyway. Yeah. But even this specific story, I think that would be different, because there are twists, but those are totally different stories. This one, I think it might. I personally, anyway, I think it would play better only because you do seem, the Henry Fonda character does seem so noble.
Dogmatic.
Yeah, like you feel like, oh yeah, he's got to be right. It'd be interesting to see how it plays out if someone else gets killed because how he convinced everyone that the kid's not guilty. That could be a very interesting story.
It could be. Yeah. Juror number 7 is Jack Warden, who we mentioned briefly. He's the guy who just wants out.
He just wants to go watch the Yankees game.
Yeah.
But again, great acting.
Oh, yeah.
Very natural, too. And he's young there. I mean, other people might know him. He was in the Heaven Can Wait, if you've ever seen that with Warren Beatty.
I did not, but I knew him as one of the old guys in, nuts. He's in While You Were Sleeping. Oh, he was also in The Verdict.
Oh, yeah.
From the 80s. Yeah, and he was in The Great Muppet Caper, one of my personal favorite
it's funny, he's also movies. and Justice for All with Al Pacino.
Really?
Yeah, he plays a suicidal judge. He's also really good in that too, which is again that's another great movie, another courtroom movie. But
he's
yeah,
another guy with a
he's
very
a very good
prolific,
actor, very natural,
very prolific career.
Yeah. Young in this though, it's funny. But again, some people just really good actors. I really focus on different things. Some people you can almost tell that they memorized the script or they're playing a part. He seems so natural. Even when I look at scenes he's not even in, even his expressions in the background.
Yeah.
Like even as he's listening to other people talk, he's rolling his eyes or looking at his watch, like, how long is this going to take? Like little nuances. You're like, wow, that's pretty good. I don't know if that was the direction or just his own improvisation.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
I don't know if he mentioned it, but it is Sidney Lumet's like directorial debut.
it is, right? Yeah.
So
his feature film debut. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
Very tight hand on it.
Yeah.
8 is Henry Fonda, like we've discussed. Juror number 9 is Joseph Sweeney, taking over his role he originated on the stage play.
He's very good in it too.
Yeah, he's the oldest of the jury members, and he kind of brings his own like variation of the generation gap, really, where he encourages them to look at other perspectives.
Yeah. In fact, he also creates tension because
he's the first one to agree with Juror 8.
He is the first, right, to have his mind changed, and then I think it was Jack Warden. One of the other holdouts gets nasty with him, which invites other people to question like how you're treating an older, have some respect.
Yeah.
Which is all I ask for here.
Yes.
Gretchen. From you.
Oh, right. All the disrespect I give out on this podcast.
Yeah.
Juror number 9 has actually another one of my favorite bits where he does say, "It's not easy." I have it written down. "It's not easy to stand alone against the ridicule of others, so he gambled for support, and I gave it to him."
Right. That's what he says, and he's right. Yeah.
It is true, and like this is like such a microspective look at a culture. This is just 12 guys in a room,
Right.
And you watch like over the course of an hour and a half as all 12 of these guys are forced to look at themselves really, and what they're doing with this evidence in front of them.
Right.
And I do think that change in perspectives is so interesting. Again, it's the 50s, and it's been done with more diverse casts as they've remade this.
True. Yeah.
But I think even for the 50s, with the relatively undiverse group that they have, they do a good job at bringing in other perspectives.
That's a really good point because it's 12 angry white men, and so you assume they're almost all, they're going to be the same.
Different
and
walks
yet you
of life.
see they're really all different. I mean, you assume that they're all the same. It's just 12 angry white men.
Yeah.
But yet they are, and as the film goes on, initially, Henry Fonda is the only holdout. So it is almost just 12 angry white men,
all in a room arguing.
all agreeing on the same thing at that point. And then you see that they all have they bring different things to the table, like you said.
They do.
And they all have different perspectives, and it's almost like you have to figure out which way to get them to think a little harder about the situation.
Because they all come to it on their own. Like, there's a couple that are a little bit more bland.
Yeah.
But the moment that people decide to make that decision is
There's that one specific thing
Yeah.
they hadn't thought of or they hadn't heard or really...
Or something that somebody else does that makes them
Yeah.
rethink how they're looking at it. That's
Right.
really interesting.
Right, yeah. And that's really what the film's about. It's about, examining every piece of evidence, which is really all Henry Fonda wanted in the beginning. I also thought it would have been funny if at the end he starts to see, like, now everyone starts changing.
He changes his own mind.
And he starts thinking, like, wait, I still think the guy's guilty. I didn't expect you all to say not guilty. You know what I mean? Like, because he says, look, we should just talk about it, And then as he brings up different points, people do start changing their minds because they're like, wait a second, yeah, it's true.
Yeah. A big part of this is all about reasonable doubt, which is brought up a couple of times,
Right.
that exact term. Because the plea of the film that Henry Fonda is making from the get-go is, I just want you to value a life
Right.
and value the responsibility that we have in making a
Yeah,
decision.
these 12 men are going to decide this 18-year-old kid's fate.
And that's a huge deal.
It is, and it should be treated as such.
Yeah, that's something I also think has aged very well. Like, as we, this is a cultural thing too, not to sound like old man yelling at cloud, but I feel like now we have such access to all the terrible things that happen. We pass judgment on each other so quickly over things that happen in the news, over things that we see on social media. We pass judgment instantly, and then we move on with our lives.
Yeah.
Which is what...
Because we can.
Which is what Jack Warden wants to do, and
Right.
he's condemned for it by the entire film.
Right.
Because you are not stopping to think about the value of a life, and
It's
in
true,
this
and if you really think
position-
about it, just so he can go to a Yankees game.
Yeah.
And Yankees games were much easier to go to back in that day. So it wasn't like it's my only chance to go to a Yankees
Yeah, I have
game.
had these tickets for 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Also,
Right.
I'm not gonna make a baseball joke. I'm not informed enough to do it. I don't want to make. I don't want to
But
alienate.
you get the point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of the
No,
point of his
yeah.
character, right?
he's so
It
frivolous about it.
It could have been anything that he was getting out of there to see.
And you get the sense that if he had gone and the kid was executed,
he wouldn't have thought about it.
He wouldn't have thought twice. Yeah, wouldn't have mattered.
Juror number 10 is Ed Begley, who I don't know him from anything else, but I know his son.
Right.
From a lot of 70s TV.
Ed Begley was also a big television actor, and he played this character really well. You know,
his character, he's probably the most like obviously bigoted.
Yeah.
He's clearly coming into it with it's not so much that he thinks this kid is guilty, it's that he thinks all of quote unquote these people are guilty of something.
Right. He even says as much.
Yeah, he uses you people a lot. He likes the other terms.
Yeah.
You know, the alienating,
and he
not
says,
like us.
These people, they're not like us. They don't feel like we do. They'll kill. They get drunk. You know.
And that's why it's so important to me that this film doesn't place a label on who this kid is or who they are, who these people are. That's what makes us.
I was glad about that too. In fact, like I said, it seems more about class, you know, because Jack Klugman's character also comes from the slum, which gives him sort of a special insight into this kid. You know,
there's definitely you can apply pretty much any angle to this film and it still plays with some relevance.
Yeah.
Which I think is smart.
Yeah.
From the writer's perspective. So Ed Begley probably does have like the most thankless role because he's just irredeemable. He's just awful.
Yeah, he's terrible. He doesn't even have that moment at the end where even when he reluctantly agrees, he doesn't
break
say down,
anything.
he doesn't sob, he doesn't have any kind of change, you know.
Actually, after he blows up and after Juror 4 tells him to be quiet, he does not speak for the rest of the film.
Right, exactly. That's it. Yeah, you don't hear from him again. Which also makes him seem somewhat cowardly.
Yeah. I think once he realizes that not everyone's going to stand with him, he realizes he doesn't have a leg to stand on at all.
Yeah, which is also pathetic because you see that as he's losing people, as people are starting to change their minds, it's almost more about that now. It's like, wait, you're not agreeing with me anymore either? Like, he needs people to agree with him, you know? And when they don't, it's not about the kid anymore, it's about him.
Well, and back then, too, like, I feel like that was a safer bet to make. Like, now that those type of comments, it's obvious, like, of course, you know, you're going to get criticized if you say those things in public. Right. Back then, it was a lot easier for somebody in his position to make those comments, and hear nothing about it.
No, right.
So the fact that there were 11 other guys in that room who were like, listen, that's
not acceptable.
That's not
right.
Totally.
Yeah.
Again, for now, pretty standard. For 1957, it was a little bit free thinking.
Yeah.
Juror 11, we're coming to the end here. Juror 11 is George Vasicek.
Yeah, he's the Czechoslovakian.
He, I believe, also originated his role.
Yeah.
On the stage show.
Yeah.
I like him. He's my second favorite, actually.
Yeah, he's very good.
I like him a lot.
Quiet for the first half of the film, and he comes alive more in the second half, and he has some great lines.
He actually has my favorite line, which when Juror 7 changes his vote because the tide is changing and he just wants to get out.
Right. That is a great part.
Yes, he says, do it because you're convinced the man is not guilty, not because you've had enough. And if you do think he is guilty, then vote that way. Or don't you have the guts to do what you think is right?
Yeah.
So much of this movie is about like doing what you think is right. Like, perspective is so important. I could talk about this movie forever. I know that you're not on the same page about it. Not quite.
No, not exactly. But I appreciate it for what it is.
And Juror 12 is Robert Webber, who leaves zero impression on me.
Every
time I watch it, I forget he's there.
Yeah. No.
And then he sits there, and then I remember that he's there.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And he's doodling a lot because he's in advertising or whatever he does. Yeah,
he's kind of like...
kind of a non-entity in the film.
This is fascinating to me. He starts making a point, like makes like an off-the-wall comment, and then distracts himself, and then has like he's just done. He doesn't even make the point.
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of curious what he was going to say because it was the first time he's really speaking, and then he just seems also very disinterested.
Yeah,
you know.
That's like I said. That's Robert Webber, who I
did serve in the Marines.
He did serve in the Marines, and I believe he was in Private Benjamin.
Oh, was he?
Mm-hmm.
I know him also. He played Sybil Shepherd's father on the TV series Moonlighting.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he was good in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, all these guys did stuff. You know, but specifically...
To varying degrees before and after.
What's interesting in this movie, though, is, like, everyone gets roughly the same amount of screen time, give or take.
Yeah.
And they do a very good job balancing. For having 12 people in a cast that you don't even know their names,
right.
They do, I think, a pretty decent job at keeping everybody interesting enough that I'm still watching.
Yeah. They're all individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a lot of points that get made. Like, the point of the film doesn't seem to be the evidence. The evidence is almost like a MacGuffin.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, you're right.
It's not necessary. They do make interesting points about it. There's
It's funny. I was going to use that same word, MacGuffin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really was, because it really is sort of like that. It's sort of irrelevant,
Yeah.
you know.
It's driving the plot forward, but it's more about these guys than it is anything else.
Yeah, their personalities and clashes, and again, it's about at least taking your role seriously.
Yes.
You know, that's what it's really about.
When I wrote my Letterboxd review of this, I think the last time I saw it actually, the big thing that I said was I know guys like this. We all know guys like this. These are people that really could exist, like not obviously, like, you know, not cookie cutter, but we've seen these attitudes, we've seen these types of things still now, and it's a plea to an audience to not take our duty for granted, to scrutinize our own motives. And I think it's so interesting to see potentially like your own opinions reflected in somebody else, and all of a sudden be looking in a mirror and trying to, what does that say about you?
Yeah, it's that's a good point, and it's also, like, I don't know if they had the same screening process in 1956 or 57, whenever this was written, because you kind of wonder, how did these guys get on the jury? Like, didn't someone kick them off? Bringing some prejudice is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, maybe they just hid it. But that is an issue still to this day. You know, like, what are you bringing to the table here? You know, like what you know, and is that going to affect your judgment of this case?
And the fact is, like, even in this case, like, they all got in with some kind of, you know, some of them more obviously than others, there is some kind of partiality there.
Right.
The question then becomes, because we as human beings cannot remove our opinions, we can't remove who we are. Like, when we step into a courtroom, we can't take away our life experience or our beliefs. What we have to do is look at the evidence in front of us and put what we think aside.
Can we all do that impartially?
Yes.
That's the key. But that's always been the key to, you know, a judicial system.
Have you ever served on a trial?
I never have.
I haven't either.
No. I've been called to serve, and I haven't snuck my way out of it ever, but I just was never selected.
I feel like I'm still pretty young yet. I haven't gone. I assume I will at some point. I think my parents both have.
Yeah, I haven't, and I'm surprised. And I always assure them that I can spot guilty people just like that.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
And maybe that was.
I think I'd be great on this jury. Oh, I could tell you someone's guilty right away. Maybe that's what gets me off. I don't know.
That might be it.
Yeah.
Maybe watch a few less murder mysteries before you get called next time.
Yeah. You know, one of the I forget if one of the jurors actually says this or not, but I did write this down. You know, either the defendant did kill his father and he got away with it, or the actual murderer was never caught. I mean, that's something to think about at the end of the film.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
You know, while you're kind of happy for how it maybe turns out. I don't know if you really feel happy. I mean,
I feel satisfied.
Yeah, but again, you don't really know, and they don't really ever tell you that.
That's one of the things I think I liked. Like, one of the things I thought was interesting, it's been a while since I saw On the Waterfront, so I'm curious as to how a rewatch of that will go for me. But so far, when we've just doing this podcast alone, we've done Casablanca and 12 Angry Men, two of the movies that made me love film.
Right.
Both of those movies end with really big question marks.
Yeah.
You know, they're resolved, but not everything's been answered. They haven't plugged up every hole.
That's true,
I still have questions.
Right.
I think that's why I felt very adult and very like, oh, this is film.
Yeah.
When because I was big on using that word when I was 13 also. Film,
right.
you know, cinema.
Yeah.
It was something that made me, as like at 13 and 14, stop and go, okay, this is something. Like, this is about something.
Yeah. You have to think about it.
Yes.
Yeah, you're not just given all the answers.
Yeah, and a lot of movies that when you watch when you're a kid, and even a lot of like our blockbuster films, I love, and I loved then, I still do love now. I'm not at the end of like Indiana Jones or Raiders of the Lost Ark thinking to myself, man, I really wish they'd gone into more detail with like what are the moral implications of this. I don't have that thought.
Right.
I'm just like, that was fun.
Yeah. I mean, some films
do both very well.
Right. Yeah.
I think that this one, like, we don't sacrifice the entertainment factor in this one for me personally.
Right.
But I do think it's important that the film leaves you with some moral questions and doesn't necessarily hand you here's what happened, by the way.
Right.
It's
not even like a little writing at the end,
now.
like to tell you, like, so he was found. You know, later on it was proven he was innocent. Nothing. You don't know.
Yeah.
I still lean toward him being guilty,
and I don't know.
Despite you still don't.
I still don't know.
Despite the arguments that were raised by Henry Fonda and others, I still think, I don't know, this kid's history and who else would have done it, you know. They did say that. You're saying someone else found that knife in the street and ran into this kid's apartment and killed his father? One of the jurors does make that argument. And I thought that was a pretty strong argument, too,
yeah.
you know.
There are plenty of strong arguments.
There are.
I really don't...
For the kid's guilt.
Yes.
Yeah.
But from my perspective too, and again, like I don't know if it matters a ton whether we think he's guilty or not. I think, for me personally, I know where I stay at this stage in life, looking at like as it was presented. I don't know if I could. I reasonable doubt.
And that's what it's about. It really is. You know, if you have doubt and it's reasonable,
you can't condemn someone to death.
Yeah, to death. Right.
And too, it's a little bit different now. Like the penalties have changed over the years too. This argument looks different now than it did then.
Right.
The end result is the film isn't super concerned with really like with many details, which is weird for a movie about a courtroom. Do you feel like that should be
and
like
a murder trial?
Yeah, that would be like huge.
Yeah.
You know, you think of like some of the great courtroom films of all time, and you know stuff like this. You want to see the witness on the stand. You want to see like, you know, the cross examinations. You want to, as an audience member, draw your own conclusions with the people who are going to be proven right. You want to be like, you know, it's like you want to be.
You want to be on the jury.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. So watching these guys come to this conclusion that you may not agree with, I think is an interesting angle to take. And you know, courtroom dramas have been done before. This is not like this is the first one ever.
Right.
But I do think it's interesting that of all the ones that have been done, this is probably the one that's been done afterward the most.
Yeah.
So it clearly left an impact.
Yeah.
Which is strange. Like I said, this did not do well when it first came out.
No, I'm surprised. It was nominated for Best Picture, and I think Henry Fonda was nominated for Best Actor, and I think even the screenplay maybe, but it didn't win anything.
And it wasn't made on a big budget. And
filmed in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
It wasn't long.
Yeah.
And actually, Sidney Lumet and Henry Fonda both gave up their salaries, like or at least a good bit of them, to get this off the ground.
And Henry Fonda never produced another film either. He thought it was very stressful.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Plus, I'm sure he was disappointed. I think he really believed in it.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was overlooked and not that it was overlooked as far as nominations, but that it didn't win anything at all.
I hold the opinion, and I don't know if you agree with me or not. I believe this should have won Best Picture in 1957.
Bridge on the River Kwai won, and I'm a big fan of that film. I was just going to mention that, say, well, they were up against Bridge on the River Kwai.
I know, every category that they were nominated for, they lost to Bridge on the River Kwai.
Yeah, I know, and I love Bridge on the River Kwai, too. We should also do sometime.
This is for 1957, this is my Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, where I'm
really?
like, I campaign, I'm like, this is the hill I'm dying
Yeah,
on. This should have won.
I feel Best Picture won that year.
I know.
But it's definitely, you know, it's entertaining, and it's considered one of the greatest films ever now. You know,
yeah,
in retrospect.
They use it a lot in business schools. And one of the things I think is interesting too, like they don't really. It's not a lot of like clever camera work. It's not very flashy.
No.
They very subtly use it, like we said earlier, to enhance that feeling of claustrophobia.
Right.
There's that really nice like series of tracking shots in the beginning that show you like getting inside the courtroom for the first time. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
It's the only time you actually see the defendant.
Yeah, and then it's a lot of close-ups.
Yeah.
You see they start to sweat a little bit.
It's a really hot day. They mentioned
it's one of the hottest days, and then you get the like thunder, rainstorm later on. You know, and that also kind of adds to the claustrophobia.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like pouring out. It also upsets Jack Warden because now he thinks the Yankees aren't going to play.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you gotta like basketball.
Yeah,
you can play it in any weather.
Any weather, right? Indoors.
I do think it's interesting too. Like this is a very like in terms of like the screenplay, they didn't have to adapt a whole lot. This was very easy to just lift from the original
it
format.
Really kind of works.
It feels a little stagey at times.
Does, yeah.
There are a couple things I think like they utilize very well. The scene where Henry Fonda goes through the old man getting out of bed and like and like acts that out. I can definitely see that playing on stage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And there's stuff like that. They don't take a ton of advantage. I think the most advantage they take of the film's medium is being able to get that close to their expressions. That's really where the film excels as a film, as opposed to the dialogue that's written very well. Yeah. Whether it's a stage play or a movie, it's those close, tight reaction shots on these actors coming apart at the seams. That's really, really where it takes off. This is a film.
Yeah.
And it's shot. It's a very tight. Quarters. You feel it towards the end.
You do. Yeah, it gets a little claustrophobic.
Yeah.
And we should mention too that I think the acting is really everyone is really good in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no false notes really at all. Every character is pretty well defined. I think they all play their parts really well.
That is one thing I think that, really that has saved it in the years past. Like, it is a totally genuine movie.
Yeah.
It's not, like, whether or not it reads as heavy-handed, I don't feel like the movie is is trying to be smart in
Right.
like a deceiving way. I think it is
No,
very like barefaced in its integrity.
yeah. Well, like I said, I did feel a little manipulated watching it again now as an older gentleman.
Older.
Yeah,
Only a little older.
only a little bit older. But I did only because, like I said, every the men who are most convinced that he's guilty are almost universally kind of gross. You know, coughing and disinterested, racist, ugly, sleazy. You know what I mean? Like they fit the bill. So it's almost like you don't have to make them that gross. Like good, reasonable, nice people can also disagree on someone's guilt or innocence.
Sure.
Especially when it did in the beginning. Initially, certainly seemed like he was guilty. And even his history certainly sounds like and he may really very well be guilty. They do bring up some points, that don't really establish his innocence necessarily either. Just again, reasonable doubt. But that doesn't mean because those guys didn't have reasonable doubt doesn't mean they were
necessarily bad people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but they are bad. They're kind of shown to be pretty bad.
Yeah, a couple of them at least.
Yeah.
But
2 for sure. Because like you said, E.G. Marshall, he certainly had his reasons. He stated them very well. So he was sort of the reasonable holdout.
Yeah, I buy him for sure.
Yeah, the other 2 were definitely sleazy, and then Jack Warden's maybe the sleaziest of all, just because he wants to just go to the game.
Yeah,
doesn't really care. Like basically send the kid to the chair. I don't want to miss the Yankees game. I don't know. He's not made to look as bad, but that really is bad.
Yeah,
that's his attitude.
So do you think like let's see, I was 57, so it's been over probably close to 70 years.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's earned the acclaim, like in retrospect?
For its time, I think there really wasn't much else done that way. And it's still riveting. It's funny. I mentioned this to you earlier. When the film was over, I just thought, boy, thank God we have some DNA evidence. It's not always presented and it's not always available, and it's not even always. It's pretty conclusive, I guess, especially now with some of the other stuff they're doing. But thank God for that because it would have been tough, Like being on a jury is
it's hard enough.
It's hard enough, especially for a murder trial for a young kid. But that was one of the arguments I didn't like either. It was right away in the very first thing Henry Fonda says when he is asked why he doesn't think the kid did it. He says, "The kid's only 18 years old."
Doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything. You don't think an 18-year-old kid could kill someone. I thought that he seemed very naive in the beginning, and then as he starts. And he didn't really have that evidence. It becomes more available as other people kind of bring it out,
Sure.
So I don't know. But again, he was just taking it very serious, the charge, to decide this kid's fate.
For me personally, every time I end this movie, there's some movies that I start to kind of get antsy and start checking my watch through. Even movies I like.
Yeah.
I do. There are points that just starts. I'm like, okay, I can feel it dragging. At the end of this movie, every single time I'm like, man, I could have been 40 minutes longer. I would have watched it. Yeah.
Well, it's tight, like you said. It's an hour and a half, and it's there are no boring parts. Most films do have those moments where if you've seen it before, you kind of fast forward a little bit.
Yeah, you're like, well, I could walk out of the room and grab a water.
You could, right? Exactly. Yeah, there's time to use the bathroom, whatever. Yeah. But this movie doesn't really have any of that.
No dead space.
Right. No.
Very well utilized.
Yeah, very well done.
Do you have a favorite performance in this film?
Well, I agree. I like Jack Klugman's performance. Understated, very good. The thing is too with Jack Klugman is you don't see him in too many films. He's not a film star. He's been in films, but I know him mostly from The Odd Couple and from Quincy, and so I sort of know him as those characters. So it was kind of nice seeing him stretch a bit.
He's not very subdued often either.
No, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he's very good in this. I really believed his character. I thought all the acting was great. I actually liked Ed Begley. I mean, even though he's clearly the bad guy, but his acting, you can't stand him. Yeah. And I don't know if he added the coughing part in. It's really sort of irrelevant. It doesn't become relevant at all.
They just mentioned he has a head cold. And
and there's sometimes the worst in the summer cold he has, right? But every time he's coughing and. Even though you don't see him, sometimes you hear him coughing, and then the camera will cut to him. You just ugh.
Yeah.
He's very sleazy, but he does it well. I mean, he does it really well. It's a thankless.
Yeah,
role.
It's a tough role.
Yeah, because no one's gonna like you.
Yeah, no one's coming out of there thinking you're great.
Yeah, and you're not gonna get any leading man roles from this film.
I also love I've mentioned it. I love Jack Klugman. I also adore George Voskachek.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah.
I hope I'm saying his name right.
Yeah.
Juror 11. Because I think that he's also like he's understated, but he's got a very strong undercurrent that I
Yeah.
really like watching.
Yeah.
Henry Fonda's great, and I will actually admit, in a similar vein as I'm rediscovering as we're watching all these classic films, this is like the only thing I've actually seen him in.
Really?
I need to get a hold of his other stuff because I do want to see On Golden Pond, The Greats of Wrath, and
Oh,
Oxbow.
yeah.
I know he did stuff. I'm getting to it. It's just
Yeah.
there's
Oxbow
so much
Incident.
other stuff to get to.
Oh, you just made me think of something else. I think you'd like.
I think was he also in How the West Was Won? Was that him too?
Yeah.
Okay, I have to get to that too.
Oh no, he's also in Once Upon a Time in the West,
Oh,
which is great.
yeah, okay. No, I did see How the
he's
West
a-
Was Won.
Yeah, he's a
Once
villain
Upon
in
a Time
that
West.
one.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and Charles Bronson. Yeah, it's a great film too.
I have to get to
We
that.
should do that. Yeah.
We don't have to do How the West Was Won, by the way.
No,
I saw it. It's 100 years long.
I know it is. You're still watching it, aren't you?
It's been 4 years. I'm still watching this movie. I stopped it like 6 times and had to walk away. I'm like, I'm bored stiff.
Yeah, well, it's like 3 separate
It's
movies in one,
fast.
basically.
Anyway, that's not this movie.
Yeah, no.
Thank God.
But Henry Fonda, yeah, he made some good films.
He did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we definitely have to do a couple others of his. I was trying to think of another one I thought of. Oh, even Sometimes a Great Notion. We did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which was a Ken Kesey novel 1st.
Mhm.
And Ken Kesey's, I don't know how many other novels he's written, but the other big one was Sometimes a Great Notion, or
That sounds familiar.
yeah, had a different title too. But anyway, it's a great film with Paul Newman,
Oh,
and Henry Fonda is the sort of the patriarch of the Stamper family. Another great performance.
you're big on Paul Newman too.
Yeah. And Henry Fonda's, just a very good, steady
Solid.
actor, very
Mhm.
solid. Yeah, whatever he's in, he's good.
He's definitely like one of those names that like I knew from like classic Hollywood. He never stood out to me as much as like James Stewart did,
Yeah.
or like some of those other big guys.
Right.
But I definitely knew who he was, and this even like when I was 13 or 14, this is the reason why.
Yeah,
I knew
yeah.
him for this.
He is very steady.
Yes.
He almost seems like he's downplaying a little bit in this,
Mhm.
like allowing
Yeah,
other
he
people to
does.
shine.
Yeah.
Because his role could have been bigger, even.
Mm-hmm.
You almost forget he's there a couple times. Because the other characters are taking over.
He is very, I think steady's a good word because he doesn't fluctuate. He's never up or down. He's always like beating on the same beats.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah.
Which you need when the rest of the movie is playing around him.
Yeah. And again, he lets the sort of the villains, if you were, in this
Make their own
film
case
sort of
against
shine
themselves.
too. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and they really have the big scenes.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ed Begley and Lee J. Cobb.
Do you have a favorite sequence in this film? Like a favorite scene?
Well, I don't want to say like when Lee J. Cobb breaks down, but his acting is great in that scene.
He is really good.
And then I mean that's almost like a cliche to say that, but that if you're gonna go by acting, that was a really well acted scene. And even with Ed Begley when he has his whole rant, you
Yeah,
know,
and he explodes. Yeah.
yeah, and he explodes. That's also because those are the big moments. They're the big moments that you.
I like the sequence when they're talking about the knife wound for a couple of reasons. Number one, the way that Henry Fonda stares down Lee J. Cobb when he goes to like swing the knife.
Oh yeah, that's tense.
That's crazy.
And you even think for a second like,
You're like, oh gosh,
is he
yeah.
really gonna stab him?
Everyone else in the room does.
Yeah, they really did. Yeah, I didn't think that at first at all, but then like you start to wonder, like, is this guy really
Getting
homicidal? Yeah.
But I think that's a really great sequence for a couple reasons. You get to see like a couple different people make a couple different points. I mentioned John Fielder, who we haven't talked about much since we mentioned his name first. He points out the knife wound in general, like the stab wound doesn't seem to add up, and then Jack Klugman gets to really like show a little bit more of his background. Like that's a couple different moments that people get to have.
He almost asks incredulously, like, "Haven't you guys ever seen a knife fight?"
Like everyone has.
Like as if everyone that's part of everyone's sort of heritage.
It is.
And then he explains it. Yeah, it wouldn't happen the way you're thinking.
Yeah.
And the way Lee J. Cobb just demonstrated.
Overall, in terms of like the films we've seen, especially on this podcast, it's probably like it's the littlest of them all.
Yeah.
I think it does kind of have like a little engine that could vibe about it in terms of its release and its history.
Yeah, and it's sort of acclaimed now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
not a big film. No.
It's not, but it's steady, and I think it's earnest.
Yeah.
And I think that's really why it maintains such a good spot in film history.
Yeah.
It means what it's saying.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, well done.
So it's still in my top. I'd say it's probably my top 10 of all time. Like being realistic without being like these are the ones I just watch over and over again.
Yeah.
This is definitely one of the ones like if someone said what's your favorite movie from the 1950s, it's this one.
Wow.
This one and Ben-Hur are my two. Like, these are the two.
Ben-Hur I love too. Yeah. Not Bridge on the River Kwai?
You know what?
We're gonna have to do that.
I'm sorry if Dad's listening, but I'm sorry, Dad. I like this better than Bridge on the River Kwai. And I don't dislike Bridge on the River Kwai.
Yeah.
It's still good.
Yeah.
It definitely deserved acclaim.
Yeah.
I just have this one makes me feel more passionate. I think when it finishes.
I think that's sort of its goal.
Yeah,
you know,
I have a fervor to
other
do
films
something.
aren't necessarily making you feel passionate.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Roberts is also a great film from
Okay.
the 50s too. We'll have to watch that sometime and discuss that. But again, different films. You know,
Right.
You're not gonna feel the same way.
Of course
This
not.
is meant to make you feel something.
Yes.
Yeah, which it does well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I will agree with that. That is something we are still talking about it this long, so that is still something to be said.
And they're still using it to teach, like you said, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
teaching courses where they
I think it's still they utilize it in film school. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Like they
yeah.
talk about it.
and even for jurors,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because
Yeah.
it's important. Like I said, I'm glad DNA is around, so it's less of this sort of bickering about, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and all these little nuances. Because really, it was guesswork. I mean, it's
A lot of circumstantial evidence
yeah,
is big,
yeah, yeah,
but
which is tricky. But at the time, that was the best we could do with the jury system.
Yep.
You know.
yeah, it definitely is a product of its time. It's definitely like an example of like times have changed,
Right.
and I do think if you're willing to do a little bit of history, and not even necessarily forgiveness, but more understanding of the time that it came out of, I think that modern audiences can still get a lot out of this film.
Oh yeah.
Even if they don't agree with
Yeah.
the points it's making.
Yeah.
At least I'd recommend to any of our listeners watch it and draw your own conclusions.
Yeah.
And let us know. Do you think he's guilty? Do you not? Do you think it matters?
Yeah, I'd be curious too if you watch this too. Let us know what you
Yeah.
think. Do you think watch the film again, you know, for fresh eyes, and see, do you think the kid's guilty? Do they prove him innocent, as
Yeah.
they say in the film? I'd be curious. Nothing they say really changed my mind necessarily, you know. Like certain things, yeah, like, you know, maybe the girls wore glasses and maybe she, you know, they don't even establish that for sure. You know,
No.
the guy says she had the marks on her face and he says they could only be made by glasses.
I couldn't tell that from halfway across the room.
No, I couldn't either. And I don't know if they're only made by glasses. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
And one guy even says, well, she could have been wearing sunglasses. And you don't know. Maybe she was, you know. It's obviously a hot day, they said. So I wouldn't throw away her testimony just based on that, you
No.
know.
But I think
And
that-
again, he also mentions, which is an important point, like, well, what does she have to gain? Like, why did... They even said that one guy, like, well, he gets to be... And the guy, he says,
older
well,
guy.
he gets to be known, or he gets, you know, maybe this guy's never been known. He's like, well, you think this guy lied just so he would be known?
There's a lot of speculation.
There is
happens,
a
for
lot,
sure.
yeah.
And that's I think the one in film's the best, honestly, its biggest weakness is, but also maybe one of its points is like.
I think it is one of the points.
There's
yeah. There's a lot of ambiguity.
Yes.
And it's I think it's intentional. So because they could have easily thrown something in there, and they could have had that, you know, big reveal at the end.
It's not hard for screenwriters to write their way out of a problem. They're really good at that. It's
Right.
harder when they write themselves into a problem and don't give themselves a way
Right.
out.
So I think that was intentionally done. Yeah. And I think it was maybe maybe they were and I like to think that they were trusting the audience to make their own decisions.
Media
you know?
literacy.
I don't always like that, unfortunately, because sometimes we're kind of bred that way. We kind of like to have the answers given to us at the movies. You know, I don't want to have to go home and do homework on it. You know, but I think I also respect when they trust me enough to
Yes.
come to my own conclusion.
I'm in the stage of my life where I like it when movies kind of finish and without really telling me how I'm supposed to feel about something.
Yeah.
I've mentioned multiple times that's why I like the new Dune movies so much. I like films where they conclude,
Right.
you decide what that means.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that there's a lot to be said for movies that don't spend 20 minutes moralizing at you at the end.
Yeah, I agree. Or even that scroll at the end, like telling you exactly how it all ends.
Yeah.
And that's
Life is full of ambiguity. A lot of times we leave situations and we never know how
Right.
stuff ended or how.
Right.
Or, unfortunately, life ends on a lot of cliffhangers.
It does, yeah.
We have
Sometimes people get away with stuff. Like I do have a problem with No Country for Old Men for that same reason.
That's
because,
another one I haven't seen.
yeah, but
Sorry.
yeah, but if you see it, you'll probably feel the same way. You know, like you don't want bad guys to just get away with it. You
No.
know what I mean?
No, we're built. To
We
not-
aren't built that way.
Yeah.
You know, same kind of in this movie too. We want to see justice done, but this didn't feel as bad
No.
because you don't know for sure. In No Country for Old Men, for example, you know he's a really bad guy. You know he's killing people, and then for him to get away, you're like, wait, what? That's it? I want my pound of flesh. You know, I paid for this movie. So, but I didn't feel bad about this film. I just because it really was just to make sure you're thinking about it. You know.
I think the intent of a film and intent of its ending has a has a lot to say about how we view it in
Yeah.
hindsight for sure.
So it's definitely a satisfying film
Definitely.
for sure. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in and listening to us.
Yeah.
If you guys enjoyed it, go ahead and drop a like, drop a comment, and definitely let us know what you want us to see and talk about next.
Yeah.
I know we're planning on talking about, I think on the books coming up is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid,
Yeah.
which is
the late Robert Redford.
like the third movie that we've done that I have not seen until we do it.
Oh, you're gonna love it.
We're
I
gonna,
hope.
We're gonna have to start picking stuff you haven't seen.
I know.
This is one-sided.
I know. I've seen a lot, but not everything.
I
so-
feel like for my age and for my experience
Oh,
level, I
yeah.
think I've seen a fair amount.
Oh, you have.
Not to brag.
Yeah. No, you have. Yeah. I'm glad.
But and I know too, I'm looking at what's on the books for a potential Halloween special because we are officially in one of my favorite times of years for watching movies.
Oh yeah.
So
recommend something with that too. Something you'd like us
Definitely,
to
yeah,
do.
some
A scary
themes.
movie. That would be great.
yeah, and we'll talk about it, and we will either way, we'll check in with you guys in the next episode.
All right. Sounds good.